When you don't have money boundaries, you're not treating your money with respect, and it's just gonna leave and find someone who's gonna treat it better. This might explain why you're in that paycheck to paycheck cycle where you're doing as much as you can and you can never seem to earn enough, and you're just stuck and you're overwhelmed and exhausted and wondering why things aren't changing. You wake up, you go to work, you pay your bills, you go to sleep, and then you do it all over again. You get paid and poof, that money is gone over and over and over again. So let me ask you something, and I really want you to be honest and think about this. How do you actually feel about your money? Do you like where you're at right now? Are you feeling good, or are you feeling heavy? Because if you're working as hard as I know you are, and your bank account still isn't reflecting all the hard work that you're doing, it's not actually a bank account problem. It could be a boundaries problem. Not having the proper boundaries in place could be stealing your money and your peace. I'm going to share with you some of my personal money boundaries and why they're so important, and that's going to give you some idea on what your money boundaries could potentially be. Feel free to steal these, and maybe you're going to come up with some ideas on your own of your own money boundaries that you need to have so that you can keep more of your money and your peace. I'm doing pretty good for myself right now, but I was exactly at that same point about 13 years ago. I was in my late 20s and I just felt like I would never get out of the debt repayment cycle, and I just felt like I didn't have a life. Honestly, it just wore me down. I was so tired going to work and then going to sleep and not being able to do anything and just paying bills. In that process, I started learning about money boundaries, and I started remembering lessons that I learned from when I was a kid and things that I saw my own parents do that just bothered me and upset me, and I took some of those and I turned those into my money rules. I started paying attention. I got to know what my numbers were. I stopped avoiding my finances, and dare I say, I actually got fearless with my money. Once I started to change my mindset and institute boundaries, my whole life started to change. I think it was over the course of a year that I went from feeling so hopeless to moving across the country, having a brand new apartment, a brand new car, all within the span of a year. You have boundaries in other areas of your life, right? You have boundaries with your friends and your family and your coworkers and your job. Why don't you have boundaries with your money? It's the same thing, just financially. Some people think boundaries are restrictive. I don't. I think they are a foundation for a really solid financial structure. Boundaries are just predetermined sets of standards that you communicate to yourself and everyone else around you. They tell the world how you respect your money and how you handle money and what your values are. The whole goal with money boundaries is that it lets things that aren't meant for you move along faster, like move along. And then it lets things that are for you stay. I have to be honest and admit that this first boundary is one that I'm actually not very good with, or I haven't been good with it in the past, is how I should explain this. It's staying out of debt. One of the mantras that I have now is that I don't get into debt. I am paying off a credit card for when I was in a really bad depression. A coping mechanism for me was buying things on Amazon. I would get that dopamine hit and I would feel better. And then as soon as I hit the purchase button, all the emotion would just go away and I would have to end up like doing it again and again. My now husband actually pointed it out. He goes, I'm noticing that you're getting a lot of Amazon boxes, and is everything okay and what's going on? And so I started to actually get really reflective on what I was doing and why. It was replacing something inside that I was actually missing. I was avoiding, or I didn't quite know how to deal with what I was going through. And so that showed up as a symptom through my money. And honestly, this has probably happened a couple times where I felt some kind of lack. And so it showed up in my money with reckless spending because I didn't have these boundaries in place. Once I recognized what I was doing, I started to see if I can find a replacement for that. So I started journaling. I started calling my family more. I started taking better care of myself. I started focusing on other things that weren't shopping and just feeling a lot better. My money started healing as well because my money patterns started to change. When I was first learning how to take care of my money, you go through a lot of trial and error. I've been in and out of debt for a long time. Now my mantra is I don't get into debt. I calculate how much money, I actually don't. I don't calculate how much money that I've spent towards interest because I think I would be so sick to my stomach. Credit cards, they prey on people who aren't savvy with their finances, who may be stuck in a cycle like I was and might not see a way out. Credit cards just steal your life away. If you're borrowing $100 today, you're paying $20 on that in interest. Your credit cards are charging you 20% interest at least. If it's $1,000, you're paying $200. If it's $10,000, you're paying $2,000 in interest just for the privilege of being able to borrow that money. And they know that. And that's the thing that pisses me off, is they sell you this dream of, well, if you just get this card, you can just buy it now and get what you want right now, and then you pay it back later. What they don't really explain is how much of your life they take from you, how draining it is, how long you get stuck, and that if you're just paying those minimum payments, you'll never get out of debt. There's one point where I was $70,000 in debt, and I just thought that I would always be in debt. Just realizing that came from was something missing inside myself. I was using money as a way to self-soothe, but it was destructive, and I ended up having to get myself out of that situation, and it took a long time. Because it was such a struggle, it's a money boundary for me, is that I just don't get into debt over things anymore. I save for things now. So recently my husband and I, we were replacing the floors in our condo, and it came out to about $2,600, but I had been saving and he had been saving, so that when we went to go make this renovation happen, we just pulled the money out of our bank account. And that's something that I think it's hard for a younger version of me who was stuck using credit cards to buy things that I thought I wanted and needed at the time. All the things that I bought back then, I don't even have them today. So I thanked my debt. It helped me when I needed it. It got me to where I am today, and I let it go because I don't need it anymore. I don't want that to be a part of my life. And so now what I do is I use credit cards as a tool to benefit me and get me cash back. And then I make sure that I don't give it any more of my money or any more of my life. You've heard that saying before, that if you are not saying no to something, then you are accepting that thing. I'm saying no to the debt. This second boundary might sound really cold and might not make sense to a lot of people, but I do not lend money to friends and family. I learned from a really young age that giving money to friends and family never turns out the way you want it to turn out. People will ghost you, you'll lose those friendships, rifts will occur between your family. I choose not to have that in my life. I just don't do it. When I do give money, it's because it's a gift or it's something I want to do. It's not something that I ever expect back. I don't keep score. I don't have resentment. It's just, I can't have that in my life. I think a lot of people are out there, honestly, in situations where they don't have the money to give in the first place and they feel guilty giving it, but they want to help. I think there's this thought process that to be a good person means I have to sacrifice things that I need and want for someone else. I disagree. I think that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone learn the lessons they're supposed to be learning. Let them go through the struggle, because then they're going to get stronger and they're going to be in situations later in life where maybe you're not around anymore and they haven't learned those lessons. I never want to be someone's first choice when it comes to money. I want to be their last choice. I want to hear, what else have you done? What else have you gone through? What other solutions have you figured out? What other questions have you asked? What other resources have you tried? I want to be the very last resort. Maybe it's because I've had to go through the same thing, and I realized the reason where I am today is because I had to go through a lot of things by myself. I had survived divorce, becoming a widow, having to sell my house, becoming almost homeless at one point, moving across the country. There were so many things that I had to do by myself, and honestly, I've learned so much and I feel so grateful. I know that no matter what happens, I will always be okay because I've had to go through the hard things. One of my very first money mentors, some of you might remember this name, Susie Orman, and I was listening to a caller. It was a young woman. She called in and she was explaining to Susie Orman that she came from a really bad background, a really difficult childhood. They had nothing. And she ended up putting herself through school. She ended up becoming a doctor. And so she was making, I don't know what it was, maybe $200,000. So it was 7 years or 8 years of school. And she had $400,000 or $500,000 worth of debt. Her family and her friends knew that she was a doctor. And so they all had their hands out to her. You know, help me. I need money. So finally she just said, I can't help everybody. I'm trying to pay back my loans. I'm working all the time. I'm giving money to my family and my friends because I love them. And Susie Orman explained that sometimes that kind of love is actually hurting them and not helping them. They have no other way to support themselves because they are getting fish from you and they're not being taught how to fish, right? It's that parable, is that they cannot learn how to take care of themselves if they're constantly being taken care of by everybody else. I have a responsibility to make sure that I'm okay first before I help everybody else. You're not an ATM, you're not a bank, and I'm not saying that helping people is bad. What I'm saying is there's certain lessons that people have to learn on their own. There are lessons that will show up over and over again that you are supposed to learn, and it's not until someone says no to you that you actually have to do the work to learn those lessons. And I think sometimes you're taking away their ability to learn these lessons that have been put before them on their journey that they're supposed to be learning. You can't save everybody. You can't jump in and just rescue everyone all the time. For me, my guiding star is, do I feel good? Do I feel like this is a good decision? Do I feel like this is the right thing for me to do? And if all of those feelings are yes, and I happen to have the money available to be able to help with whatever it is, then I do it. And I let go of that money and it's not meant to be with me. But if I'm feeling bad, and if I'm feeling like I'm being guilt tripped, or if I'm feeling like this isn't actually going to help this person, it's just the easy way out, and I don't have the money available, then I have to be true to myself, and I have to honor and respect myself and say, I'm just not able to help you at this time. This is one of those ones that can take a while to feel comfortable saying. I try my best to teach people how to be resourceful and how to find the solutions to their problems. It's going to feel very difficult, but once you start to practice this, it actually starts to feel like you're honoring yourself and you have more self-respect, because not only are you helping yourself, you're showing other people how to respect themselves and their money as well. They're going to grow up being so resourceful, teaching their kids how to be good caretakers of the resources that they've been blessed with. Not put yourself in a bad financial situation to help someone else out because you think that makes you a good person. But being a good person means you're a good person to yourself first. And then when you're able to help other people, that's when you can help. If you don't like what I just said, let me know in the comments or tell me a different way you would address this boundary if this is an issue for you. I just remember thinking of my dad and how devastated him and my mom were that they had to figure out something else instead of getting the help reciprocated. I don't know. I was just a really young kid, and I remember thinking, like, why are they even helping them in the first place? They have 5 kids. They have tons of debt. They can't even take care of themselves. It just didn't make sense to me. It just stuck with me. It keeps me from repeating the mistakes that my parents went through. I never want to be in a position where I'm waiting for that money to come back to me, or I actually needed that to pay something, and I'm really nervous and anxious and then worrying and having to play like I'm a collector. That's just not where I want to be in life. I hope that resonated in a good, healthy way. I bet you could tell there's a lot of feelings around that. I think it makes you a good person for wanting to make sure that you're okay at the end of the day. Because honestly, no one's coming to rescue you. That's a lesson that I learned, is that you have to take care of yourself. You have to rescue yourself. I had to figure out a lot of things on my own. You cannot be of a help and a support to other people if you aren't able to help and support yourself first and foremost, right? Take care of your own house first. And then if you're able to help other people, then great. But if not, I'm giving you permission to set this boundary. The third boundary that I have is I don't let other people's money boundaries influence mine. I know people who work hard and get paid very well, and they spend beyond their means. I know people that also make good money, but they are penny pinchers. I know people who are very poor and very conscious with their money. I know people who are poor and not conscious with their money. Usually a lot of spending patterns come from beliefs that don't even belong to you. If you are liking this video, it really helps my channel if you would like and subscribe. If you want more, stick around. I would love to have you here. It really helps my channel. Thank you so much. I have aligned my life and my money and my values and my goals around the things that matter to me the most. I have done the work and put the work in and really strategically aligned myself. I don't second guess or I don't question where my money is going. And so sometimes I'll get comments about something that I'm doing or not doing with my money based on someone else's beliefs, their priorities. I don't let that affect me. I got my mind right first, and then I decided what I wanted my life to look like. And I don't feel guilty for wanting or doing things with my life life that I want. And that's what boundaries do. They create this safety and peace and joy. And I have to tell you, I feel so happy with my money. I feel so much joy just knowing that I have my life set up financially so I don't have to worry. One of my mentors posted a comment that someone gave to her saying, if you're making so much money, then why don't you have a big expensive house? Why don't you have all these designer bags? Why don't you have this and that? And that comment was pushing on her what that person thought her lifestyle should look like and what that person thought that her wealth should look like to everybody else. My mentor was so awesome. And she said, my wealth means living in a paid off apartment with my husband. My wealth means giving my sister full-time employment in my company. My wealth means I'm able to take care of my mom. When you have your wealth aligned with your priorities, it feels good and it doesn't matter what anybody else says. You have gotten out of comparison or trying to keep up with everybody else. You've broken out of that. That's when people truly become wealthy, is when you stop chasing and you start figuring out what actually matters. And then you start taking steps to align your finances with those priorities. And then you make it a habit and then you watch it grow and grow. That is what I help women do with my channel. That is what my workbook is all about. If you want to get on the waiting list for that, sign up using the link below. I left my mentor a comment because she knows I work in finance and she helped me with my marketing. And so I left her a note saying, this is what true wealth is when you get to decide what matters to you and it doesn't matter what anybody else says. Boundaries help you say no to the things that aren't meant for you. It helps you say yes to the things that are meant for you. And you get more of what you want when you hold to your boundaries, your standards. You allow more things in that are the right thing for you. You deserve that. You should want to feel good about your money for yourself. And you should feel good for wanting money to do good things for you. I'm running out of space to record. I have a challenge for you. Write down one boundary that you know you need in your life right now and write the sentence that you're going to say if that boundary is tested, because you know it will be. The more you act in alignment with your truth, the easier it becomes. If this video resonated with you, you're going to want to watch this one next. It's about what not to spend money on anymore. Lots of love. I'll see you in the next one.